Get on the train before it leaves the station. The truth train is coming, gonna run them down.
All right, hello there, folks. Hey, we're here today doing a little bit of a follow-up on the Bianca Jones thing. You know, the girl that disappeared. The Netflix series Exhibit A, Episode 3, they covered this case. And so I've got a little bit of an update here. Found some little bit more information, so I thought I'd share it. Some people pointed out. Now, I'm going to say that the people that shared this information with me said, oh yeah, this could be it. Well, there is some interesting information here. I'm still on the fence about it. So, and I'll explain more as we get closer to that point. So first we're going to just do a little bit of a setup here of where you're going to find out that more than one person actually cited Bianca. Right? Okay, so that's significant in and of itself, right? So you're going to find that out and stuff, and then we'll come on back and we'll learn a few more things. So, here we go.
The little girl that was in that house.
Right down to the distinctive hairdo.
And she had cornrows, French braids. And they were pulled in two ponytails with beads on it. And she came out like this, like she was crying.
Nikki immediately reported the sighting to detectives handling Bianca's case, only to be told they were already convinced the child was dead.
And the reaction is no, she's dead?
Yeah, it was, as a matter of fact, she's dead.
The prosecution still hammers away at the retired officer for not reporting the alleged sighting the day it happened.
You would have been required to hold that scene until other officers could get there and investigate, wouldn't you?
That is correct.
But you didn't do that, did you?
No, I did not.
Because you didn't believe when you were in the house with that child that it was Bianca Jones.
Correct.
But Nikki remains convinced it was Bianca.
You were 100% sure that was the child?
That was the child, yes.
I mean, there was no doubt in your mind?
There was no doubt in my mind.
Several other people would also report seeing Bianca alive since her disappearance. One of them, Michael Salisbury, a court-appointed investigator for DeAndre's defense, who followed up on Nikki Gibbs' alleged sighting.
So I went up there and saw the child with my own eyes.
Salisbury says he had no doubt it was Bianca, but there was something strange and different about the child.
A little girl dressed up as a little boy with her eyebrows shaved. I mean, one of the distinct physical characteristics of baby Bianca was her thick, bushy eyebrows. And even with the shaved eyebrows, to me, that was a little girl.
And did it register right away that that's Bianca?
It did to me, yes. As soon as I saw the little girl, I knew.
Salisbury asked police to get a search warrant for the house, but like Nikki Gibbs, he says they brushed him aside.
They look at you like you're crazy or you don't know what you're talking about. They don't want to hear it.
Why do you think that is?
Sometimes with the police and even with the prosecutors, they think we've got our man, we don't want to hear nothing else. They just ignore you.
So no warrant was issued?
No.
Amazingly, the defense didn't put Salisbury on the stand and admits it may have been a bad mistake.
How many of you out there remember me covering Devontae Sanford? Video I have called The Innocence Deniers. Okay? Little brief breakdown of what happened there. Devontae Sanford was convicted of killing 4 people. There was actually 12 people killed that night, but he was only convicted of 4. 8 days after he was convicted, the actual hitman who performed all 12 hits came forward, claimed them all as his own, led the police to the gun where it was buried and stuff, and that gun matched the ballistics of all 3 scenes. There was 4 people at each scene, and so this guy came forth and proved that it was him. And the person you're going to be seeing here just as soon as I'm done talking, well, she's the one that denied. She basically decided not to let Devontae Sanford go. She just decided to prosecute the hitman for the other 8 murders that she hadn't previously had anybody to convict for those 8. And just left Devontae Sanford to rot for 15 years before eventually the state's DOJ had to get involved. And they had to go over Kim Worthy's head. That's what you're going to see right now. So, when you heard them saying, when you heard Mr. Salisbury talking about, sometimes cops, blah, blah, blah. Well, just remember who we're dealing with right here. And that may also give you a bit of a clue of how this kind of thing happens.
Today we are charging Mr. Lane with first-degree felony murder and 1 count of child abuse in the first degree.
There she is, Kim Worthy, folks. You know, you guys have heard me talk about Devontae Sanford so much. She is she is not about justice. She is not. That's not what she's about. She's chasing convictions for her own grandeur. And we have a lot of, DAs like her. And, I mean, for me, she ranks up as one of the worst. I mean, below Ken Kratz, but not far below. Because how could she let that kid... I mean, Devontae Sanford was a 14-year-old kid or something, or maybe 15 or something. But, like, she let him rot for 15 years, didn't give a crap, even though she knew he didn't do it. Right? Rather than admit she made a mistake. Okay? We can't have these kind of people working in our criminal justice system. It's not about their ego or their glory. It's about justice. And so, Kim Worthy's one of the worst. So... blew my socks off when I saw her, that she was involved with this. I was just like, oh, God. Yeah, you know what? DeAndre's pretty screwed if he's got to deal with this woman. Because she has no conscience. So, anyways. All right, now we're going to move into the bit where DeAndre's lawyer digs a bit deeper into the house where Nikki Gibbs had said she had seen Bianca way back in the day, right? Way back when she was working for the Detroit Police Department. And then obviously you heard Salisbury went and staked out the house, and he believes he saw Bianca out there and all that sort of stuff, right? So now DeAndre's lawyer has been investigating further into the owner of that house, and he has a few things here to point out. I will say I have not seen his proof of what he's claiming. He's claiming something here, a connection, but we don't see the proof of it here, and I haven't seen the proof of it myself, so I don't know what the connection is exactly. And you're going to hear it said here that other people aren't quite sure what he's talking about. So it's going to be interesting to see the way that fleshes out. But you'll see it talked about here. I don't want to say it beforehand, but you're going to see where he's making a connection between this house and possibly Bianca. So anyway, and then it's going to get into something else that DeAndre's girlfriend at the time, the girl he was going to marry when this all happened, and some of the things that she brings up in this show, which I guess are relevant because it could potentially be motive for Bianca and everything, but I just don't think so. I think Bianca, well, I'll give you my thoughts on that after this. So here, let's go ahead and go to it, and we'll come on back.
Now Johnson claims he's made a staggering discovery about the owner of that house, Patrice Hall.
I found out that Patrice Hall was actually related, or is related, to Bianca Jones, the mother of Bianca.
Johnson says the alleged information could have changed the outcome of DeAndre's trial.
We had no idea at the time that these two were related or had any kind of connection.
He says Patrice Hall should have revealed the alleged information when his defense team interviewed her.
I would even have been okay if Miss Hall would have come forth at that time and said, listen, I'm related.
It's such a coincidence, right?
I don't think it's a coincidence.
We went to the house in the hope of talking to Patrice Hall, only to learn she no longer owns it, and we are still trying to locate her. But I did ask Bianca about Johnson's claim that she and Patrice have family ties.
He actually told us that Patrice Hall is somehow related to you.
I don't know how. I don't even know if anybody in my family named Hall. I don't know this Patrice.
Is he making that up?
Maybe she knows somebody that I know, that a cousin, but I don't know her.
But Bianca says she does know the name of Patrice Hall from those reported sightings of Bianca at her house. And she says she even staked out the Hall house herself, hoping to find Bianca.
I tried to see if I could recognize her, but I didn't. I just saw people coming in and out of a house. I never saw my daughter.
Crime Watch Daily also uncovered a police report from a man who says he actually saw Bianca alive outside of Bianca's home.
I wish I would have been there. If she was really there, I wish I had been there, because I have not seen my daughter since her birthday. And I don't know what happened to her.
And Terry Johnson makes a serious allegation.
If it's found out, or I should say when it's found that Bianca's alive, it would not surprise me if Bianca Jones had something to do with this.
Bianca firmly denies she was anyway involved in her daughter's disappearance.
Well, his office also believes that I set my daughter up. They think I did it. They told me that they believe I took my daughter and I'm hiding her to punish DeAndre. And if I would produce her, it would help their client.
It's a suggestion, DeAndre says, is too painful for him to even consider.
I don't want to believe that because I wouldn't want to think that, the person who I loved, who I had a child with, who, I've known for these years would want to do something to hurt me like that.
But those who are suspicious of Bianca say one motive may have been jealousy, that Bianca could have been angry that DeAndre planned to marry his live-in fiancée, Angelique Lyons, the mother of another of his children. And Bianca scoffs at that too.
He's a serial cheater. You're dating a serial cheater. Oh, I really want that. We broke up for a reason, because he's a terrible boyfriend. So no, I'm not jealous that you get to have the terrible boyfriend. You can have the terrible boyfriend.
But Angelique says she felt Bianca resented her.
She would throw daggers, bring up old stuff that they did before, I guess to try to make me jealous or something.
Angelique also reveals that Bianca was still having sex with DeAndre, and astoundingly, with her too. Literally, at the same time, in the same bed.
Threesomes?
Yeah.
Yep, we did. I don't know what that has to do with my daughter, but yeah, we had a threesome.
Angelique says it happened more than once.
We did the threesome with her maybe 2 or 3 times. Then that was it.
Angelique says it appeared to irk Bianca.
Did you get the sense that Bianca wanted DeAndre all to herself?
Oh, absolutely.
And there's something else.
He got you both pregnant at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Same night?
No. She was already very much pregnant when I met her.
Despite suggestions that Bianca might have framed DeAndre for the murder of their daughter Bianca out of jealousy and vengeance, she is the one who has steadfastly proclaimed from day one that she believes he is innocent, while it was Angelique's testimony that helped get him convicted.
Okay, so in light of all this new information, I'm really still on the fence. I didn't see the proof from DeAndre's defense attorney of how this person who owned that house was connected with Bianca. Didn't see any proof of that. So, and that may be because they're waiting for it to go to court, and so they're not sharing it, or something like that, where it's, but he's saying he has that or whatever. So we'll have to see how that all fleshes out. But if it turns out that doesn't pan out, I'm back on with it was human trafficking. I'm serious. I heard somewhere, I'll put the link to the entire show where I got this from. It's Crime Watch, I think it is. And you'll see in that video that it's, there's just a lot of little interesting bits in there that are kind of interesting. But so the thing is that if there's no connection there, I think it's human trafficking. Because, and I actually did hear at one point during that video that I didn't include here, where the district attorney was like, she has a really shrill voice. It was the assistant district attorney, not actually Kim Worthy herself, but it was the assistant, and she had this really shrill voice, and she's like yelling at I believe it was Nikki Gibbs or whatever, basically saying, or she was arguing to the jury, and she's saying, something like, you expect somebody to believe that they carjacked DeAndre, and then suddenly there was a kid in the car, and so they just decided to kidnap too? And it's like, wait, no, what if they targeted DeAndre specifically because there was a small child, a young girl? See, they target girls like that, young girls like that, young kids like that, because they're easier to brainwash and get to be part of the whole sex slave or whatever it is they end up getting human trafficked into, right? So when they're at a young age like that, they're more malleable, and everything, and they offer less fight, or basically, when it comes down to it, right? And they're able to be kind of reprogrammed. So it makes sense that human traffickers would go after somebody like that. So, and the reason I say that is because there's no proof that DeAndre did anything here. There's no hint of any crime on his clothes. The dog didn't bark at his clothes. Supposedly he's dragging her decomposing body, Bianca's decomposing body around to get rid of it and stuff. Yet the dog didn't bark at his clothes. I mean, there's just too many things here that are incongruous, that don't work. And what does kind of fit is, number one, if this person at this house is actually connected to Bianca, and that there is some connection there, okay, that would be a possible, scenario. Otherwise, human trafficking fits this very well, as though DeAndre had already dropped off his 2 other kids. He was now alone with Bianca. These guys could have been following him, and whatever, and then got him. It's so look, if there was any hint, if I could see any hint of the crime that they're suggesting that DeAndre committed, then okay, I could probably be a lot more on board with this. But as it is, I see no evidence of a crime, and I see no body. I mean, there's no way I could ever convict on this evidence. It's not evidence, right? Anyway, then we get to the part where DeAndre's girlfriend at the time decides to bring up the fact that her and DeAndre and Bianca had a threesome. She claims that it was 2 or 3. Bianca says it was once or whatever. It doesn't really matter to me personally. They were all young people 8 years ago, hormones, all that. They were having fun. DeAndre's a bit of a player, obviously. Obviously must be hitting the right spots or something, because obviously the ladies like DeAndre, right? So I'm not really holding this against them. Now, the reason why DeAndre's girlfriend, the girl he was going to marry at the time, I forget her name actually, but she actually brings this up because she wants to suggest that Bianca was jealous of her and that was motive and stuff. So she brings this all up and tries to throw shade on Bianca. Now, the interesting thing is that when the guy who's doing the interview here, when he goes to Bianca doesn't even try to throw anything back at her. She doesn't say anything bad about the girl that DeAndre was going to be marrying 8 years ago. She doesn't throw any shade back. She just says, "Yeah, we had a threesome. I don't know what that has to do with my daughter." And that's her response. She doesn't try to attack back. She doesn't try to, bite back at, anything. She just goes, "Yeah, okay, yeah, we did, but, I don't know what that has to do with my daughter." And you know what? That's the thing about Bianca that strikes me. I believe Bianca because Bianca strikes me as a believable person, and because, like she says, she's been a good person. She's done the right things in life. She, has her own home. She's served in the military. She's, she was a Girl Scout. Her deeds prove the type of person she is. So I'm tending to believe her more than anybody else, especially when I see this lady that was going to be marrying DeAndre at the time, where she brings up the whole threesome thing and stuff, that scandal kind of thing and stuff, and tries to suggest that there's motive on Bianca and everything like that, and basically tries to use it against her. And Bianca just kind of easily goes, "Yeah, we had a threesome, but I don't know what that has to do with my daughter." And she leaves it at that, and that's classy. That's really classy. And so Bianca wins some points with me when she did that. She won some serious points with me when she did that. So, as it is, this is interesting new information. If DeAndre's attorney actually can make a connection between the lady who owned that house and Bianca, then that will be quite an interesting thing. How that connection works, how that would have happened, if that's the way it is. Or, like I said, if it ends up that doesn't pan out, I seriously see human trafficking as fitting this. It would explain why DeAndre doesn't have any hint of a crime on him. It would, and the dog barking at the car seat is not a shock to me, dude. That thing's got probably all kinds of decomposing flesh, dead skin cells, and dead all kinds of whatever in there. And so it wouldn't surprise me really that a dog might bark at that thing. That thing was dirty and filthy and disgusting. So anyway, so that's where we're at with this case. It's interesting. Like I said, little interesting developments here, little interesting things to think about. But ultimately, I'm still looking at, I don't think DeAndre did it. I don't see any proof of it. And after listening, also in this show, after listening to his son and stuff like that, and his son, hearing all the things that his son had to say about him, I was very impressed. I mean, yeah, DeAndre's a womanizer. DeAndre likes the ladies, but he doesn't abandon his children. Now, I will advise DeAndre, if he ever gets out, to invest in some condoms, my friend. Seriously, I mean, I know you love your kids and take care of them, and I give you all props and respect for that, but dude, just cover it up sometimes, dude. Just, you don't need them. I mean, fortunately, Detroit may have actually done DeAndre a favor here. They probably kept him from, populating the city of Detroit with more and more of his own kids that he probably would have had trouble being able to pay for. So at least when he gets out now, he's going to be a little bit older. His libido will have kind of been, settling down a bit, and it'll maybe be a little more manageable situation for him. Sorry, that's just a little bit of levity. Anyways, no, but DeAndre, yeah, DeAndre is a very, red-blooded guy, and so but he does care about his kids. And like I said, when you hear his son talk about him, it's kind of impressive. It kind of made me go, wow, you know what? DeAndre's taking care of business. He may have a little bit of a bad attitude, or maybe gets, he's a little too loose when it comes to, his relationships with women. Maybe has a little bit of a bad idea about how, of the way he's going about that. But you know what? That's not my business. But I would advise him to, I like I said, he actually is taking care of was taking care of his kids prior to this. It's like I said, he dropped 2 of his kids off at school before what happened with Bianca. And he was taking Bianca over to Benica's to get some more clothes and everything, and on the way there and stuff. So it's interesting stuff. But like I said, this is an interesting development. So if this ends up being connected to Benica, that's one thing that's interesting. If it ends up it's not connected to Benica, I'm seriously on the human trafficking train. That this girl was targeted and then human trafficked. It explains why other people were seeing her. Okay? Now, then we have to get into explaining why law enforcement, Kim Worthy, all these people didn't want to look into these, people that were seeing her. Why they didn't want to, give any credence to that or even check it out in the slightest way, And remember, they actually did find near the car, they actually did find a ski mask like the one that DeAndre had described that the people that carjacked him were wearing and stuff like that. And they never did anything with that. You know what I mean? So there's a lot here that makes you just go, what the hell, law enforcement? I mean, now this is getting questioned, and now because you ran a shoddy investigation, it's hard to tell what happened. And that's why we need to have more integrity in investigations, to be perfectly honest, but yeah. And then ultimately this whole thing of, DeAndre being, convicted because a dog barked, when it all comes down to it in the end. So anyway, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you.